Hello and welcome back to 3-Ball Spare ReRacked. This is a restoration of an old doubleheader match from the 2023 ACST season. I definitely had a few more issues and glitches to work through in this one, but I hope you enjoy the match nonetheless. A few numbers may be a little bit inaccurate from time to time in the new HUD, but otherwise it should still be a great one. Attention bowlers, we're going to get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is to everyone watching, bowlers, non-bowlers, family members, casual watchers, and everybody else. Welcome to the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. I'm sure I'm speaking for all of our cast, crew, and audience members here when I say I'm glad you could join us today at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. My name is Steve Kelly, and I will be your host during this Class D doubleheader match between today's challengers. Today we have Bryan Hebert, the away bowler, challenging Veronica McAllister. And we also have RMcAllister, the away bowler, challenging Jonathan Hogan in a D-class doubleheader. All of our bowlers are based out of Academy Lanes except for Bryan Hebert, whom calls Lakeside Lanes his home house. And as we begin, Ray started his first box with an 8, as did Bryan as well. So we have RMcAllister and Bryan Hebert. And these bowlers are not bowling head-to-head today, so bear with me on the scoreboard. Going to do some swapping around a little bit while we just get the scores in. So I'll try my best to flip between the two as we go along here. We have RMcAllister on the right lane on lane 38 here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. And we have Bryan Hebert on the left at lane 37 starting out. Bowlers will be swapping lanes as we complete each rotation of 5 boxes. RMcAllister finishes with a 9 box while Bryan Hebert finishes with a 10 box. Ray is at 17 after 8 while Bryan is at 18 after 8. Hello there, Future Steve jumping in once again to also just highlight that some of the numbers towards the bottom of the screen having to do with strikes, spares, tens, headpins, and splits, as well as points, are going to be a little bit inaccurate this match. I'm still testing out the detailed stats displays in the new scoring system. Unfortunately, the points readout is a little bit pretty much entirely incorrect for most of the match, but I'll give a recap towards the end. Again, thanks for your patience. Today we are at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and Academy Plaza at 725 South Main Street, about 1.7 miles from downtown and 1.3 miles from the interstate. As RMcAllister gets a 10 box for 27 after 3, Bryan Hebert gets a 7 box for 25 after 3. RMcAllister's opening ball on lane 38, slightly off to the right of the headpin. Bryan right on the headpin, leaving just 3 pins, right side diamond minus the 9 pin. Both bowlers on their second ball now for a spare attempt. RMcAllister just slightly off of the right of the head pin. Bryan misses his spare opportunity, his 75% diamond. Both bowlers in remedial mode now, trying to get something akin to a 10 box or something close to it. RMcAllister is on the head pin but punches full. He will take a 6 box while Bryan Hebert is going to take a 9 box. So RMcAllister takes a 6 box for 33 after 4. Bryan Hebert, meanwhile, is going to be taking a 9 box for 34 after 4. These are both the away bowlers starting out. In fact, why don't we just switch to away view here? As I'm just rearranging the scoreboard just a little bit just to make sure you can see as much as you possibly can. So we have Bryan Hebert at 34 after 4. RMcAllister is at 33 after 4. Bryan Hebert on your left. RMcAllister on your right. Bryan Hebert is going to sit on a spare. That's going to be an open 44 after 5 for Bryan Hebert. RMcAllister has a bit of a difficult first half. He's at 40 after 5, taking a 7 box for RMcAllister. Here's where we stand, bigger view of the scoreboard. If anyone ever has any trouble viewing any of these graphics or fonts or anything, please let us know in the comments. We'll try to do the best we can to accommodate for any of those having any visual impairments or just having difficulty reading fonts. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to gauge. What doesn't work here. Meanwhile, we have Jonathan Hogan on lane 38 and Veronica McAllister on 37. Again, this is not a head-to-head match. The bowlers have opted to kind of bowl crisscross. So technically, Bryan Hebert is going against Veronica McAllister while RMcAllister is bowling Jonathan Hogan. Jonathan Hogan looking at a rather gnarly split. A banana split, I believe it's called. Taking out the 4 and the 7 pins. John will take an 8 box in his opening ball. 8 box in his opening box. Veronica McAllister, meanwhile, will take a 7. Take a 7 in her first. I will switch the away score here. Again, sorry I can't display these right quite at the same time just because these are not head-to-head matchups. Jonathan Hogan, opening ball, drops 8. 2 and 4 pins remain. Veronica off the head pin just to the left with the 4 horseman right side plus the 5 and the 9 pin. John Hogan with a nice spare in his second for an open 18 after 2. Veronica, meanwhile, looks like she's going to be on the head pin and nearly taking, just barely missing that spare. She connected with the 10 pin. The 10 pin sure wobbled, but didn't fall. Veronica now going for a 10 box. Hopefully she'll have 17 after 2, but it looks like it's going to be 16 after 2 for Veronica McAllister. And Veronica is bowling against Bryan Hebert. This is not a head-to-head match, so at this point in the game, Bryan had 18 after 2, Veronica has 16 after 2. And then in our other matchup of this doubleheader, we have Jonathan Hogan with an open 18 after 2 versus RMcAllister's closed 17 after 2. But meanwhile, let's cut back over to the main view here. Here's Jonathan Hogan on a fill. Looks like it's going to be 8. It's going to fill that spare with 8, putting him at 26 after 2 now. Veronica has a very pretty first ball that connects with the pocket and drops all but 2 pins. The 6 and the 10 pin. Hogan on his second spare attempt, and he just curls around the 4 pin, connecting with the 2 pin, doesn't quite get it. V, meanwhile, gets a spare. And Jonathan for the 10 box, he gets the 10 box. So Jonathan Hogan's at 36 after 3, while V is at an open 26 after 3, pulling ahead against Bryan Hebert. Jonathan Hogan also pulling ahead against RMcAllister at this point in the game. Jonathan Hogan not on a fill, opening 4th box. First ball connects with the pocket, leaves the diamond side right minus the 9 pin. Veronica, meanwhile, connects with the pocket. This is a fill ball. It's looking good. It's a 7 drop. 7 fill for Veronica. That puts her at approximately 33 after 3. Jonathan Hogan makes a great offer, but doesn't connect with the 6 pin to take out the last piece of the diamond. Veronica stays on the deck and almost gets another spare, but doesn't get the 10 pin. The 10 pin not falling seems to be a theme of the day so far, while Jonathan Hogan misses his 10 box for a 9 in the 4th. That's going to put him at 45 and 4. V is going to clean up for a 9 box, putting her at 42 after 4. Here's Veronica versus Bryan Hebert. And here's Jonathan Hogan versus RMcAllister. Jonathan Hogan. Jonathan Hogan drops 9 while V drops 5. Oops. Hogan, single pin spare. He gets that single pin spare, so he's going to be sitting on an open 55 after 5, Jonathan Hogan. V trying to get the spread eagle minus a pin. Takes out 2 of the 4 needed. 3 to go for V. On 37 at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. This is a difficult split. On your 3rd ball, it's often a better idea to sort of try to pin it out, but it looks like, wow, she almost got it. That was a really nice attempt for Veronica to get a 10 out of that the 3-pin split there, but she'll take a 9 box. She will sit at 51, I believe. I'll just wait for the official score to be updated. Yes, so we're at 44 for Bryan Hebert versus 51 for Veronica. Bryan is open. Then we have Jonathan Hogan at 55 open. But meanwhile, Bryan is filling that spare with a disappointing 1. Ray drops 7, a wiggly 7. Could be more, but we'll see. Looks like it's going to be 7. Bryan Hebert takes a few more for the road on a second ball. More wobbly pins on these synthetic lanes in the green room of Academy Lanes here. This is the rightmost room. This house is very busy today. There seems to be a tournament or a league that's just wrapping up in the middle room, the blue room. Things are getting a little bit quieter, though. Bryan misses the 4 remaining pins for a 6 box. RMcAllister is going to take an 8 box. So that's 6 for Mr. Hebert and 8 for Mr. McAllister. Mr. McAllister's at 48 after 6, while Bryan Hebert is at 51 after 6. Bryan drops a difficult 6 in his first ball. RMcAllister drops 3. Academy Lanes features 44 lanes across 3 rooms. It's one of the largest candlepin houses in New England, featuring 8 lanes more than Leda Lanes' 36. Bryan Hebert is down to 2 pins remaining on the deck. He is going to take all but 9. RMcAllister, meanwhile. Ooh, tough break for Ray. He's going to take a 5 box in the 7th for 53 and 7 for Ray, while Bryan sits at 60 after 7. A unique feature of Academy Lanes is its 3 different rooms with seemingly 3 different lane personalities. The leftmost room, known as the Red Room, was most recently renovated and seems to feel the most traditional, with all wood approaches and lanes. The middle room, known as the Blue Room, is the largest room and features glow bowling and what feels like a slight mix of wood and synthetic lanes, while the rightmost room, which is the room we are playing out of today, known as the Green Room or the Right Room, is mostly synthetic in both its approaches and its lanes. Pub 125 is also located in the rightmost room and offers food, drinks, and as well as seating and sports viewing on several large TVs here. Ray takes a 7 box. Nope, sorry. Bryan. So in the 8th box, Bryan took a 9. There we go. Sorry, I got caught up in my own B-roll. Bryan took a 9 in the 8th box for 69 and 8, while RMcAllister took a 7 box. Not an 8 box, a 7 box for 60 and 8. RMcAllister's going to take a spare, though. Hopefully regaining a few extra pins here. Bryan will take a 6 box. Bryan is really hunting for something to get started here in this first game of this 5-game series. Academy Lanes also has a healthily stocked pro shop featuring plenty of brands of bowling balls, bags, towels, shoes, and accessories. And I walked by today and I saw plenty of bowling balls in stock today. Bryan looks like he's dropping 4, while RMcAllister will fill with 8. RMcAllister's at 78 after 9. But he's going to get another spare out of it. He's at an open 88 after 10. Bryan Hebert, meanwhile, can't quite do the same. He had a difficult split to work with. And he's going to settle for a 7 box for what appears to be an 82 after 10. That's the conclusion of the first game for Bryan Hebert. Somewhat disappointing 82 after 10. RMcAllister is just going to be filling a spare here. He's an open 88. Let's see what he can do. He's going to connect. Slow, methodical curve to the pocket for a 7 drop. That's going to make him finish the first game here at 95 after 1. Because Jonathan Hogan's open 55 after 5 here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. And here's a recap of Bryan versus Veronica as well, in case you missed it. We have a very busy doubleheader going on here today, and the bowlers are not bowling head-to-head, so the scoreboard is going to be flip-flopping a little bit more than it usually does, just because we have a unique configuration today. Speaking of unique, let's swap the views here. Swap this over here because Jonathan Hogan is really tall. All right, so V drops 4, while Jonathan Hogan Drops 5. Trying to make something out of the spare attempt. V can't quite do it. She has 3 remaining on the deck. Jonathan Hogan connects with a pocket, the object pin, but perhaps on the wrong side. He wanted to get some pinball action, but couldn't quite get it. The 8 and the 9 pins remain on the deck, while V is contending with the 2, the 7, and the 10, and takes out the 10, leaving the 2 and the 7. Jonathan Hogan is trying to get a 10. Looks like he's going to be successful. V takes an 8. Hogan took a 10 and filled that spare with 5. So Jonathan Hogan is sitting at 70 after 6, while Veronica is sitting at 59 after 6. Veronica on lane 38. Punches out left side half Worcester, 2 pins down. Jonathan Hogan connects with the pocket, drops 7, leaving 3. 4 horsemen right side minus the head pin. The 3, the 6, and the 10 for Jonathan Hogan. McAllister, meanwhile, still searching for that pocket, but can't quite find it. 4 awkward pins remain. Jonathan Hogan's going to take another spare home for 80 and 7. Veronica, meanwhile, cleans up a little bit. Looks like it's going to be an 8 box. Veronica is sitting at 67 after 7, while Jonathan Hogan is sitting at an open 80. An open 80 after 7. Jonathan Hogan is 59 and 25 for the season. His season average is 103.7, which is first in D class. As Veronica drops what appears to be 4 pins. Jonathan Hogan filling his spare with 5. Somewhat disappointing fill there. Right kind of ball, just missing the pocket. Veronica trying to hit the object wood there, but connects only with the 10 pin. Jonathan Hogan also failing to connect with the object pin. Left with the 1, the 7, and the 9 pins. While V is the diamond right side plus the 7 pin. Trying to make something out of this. Connects with the object wood, but caps it, so doesn't get a whole lot of pin action out of that. While Jonathan Hogan will take an 8 box. Veronica takes a 7 box. Jonathan Hogan will take an 8 box. Here at Academy Lanes. And Jonathan Hogan versus Ray. Veronica McAllister versus Bryan Hebert. We appreciate you joining the stream online. If you're just tuning in now, you haven't missed all that much. We are just concluding the first game. And we have plenty of bowling to go here today, folks. We have 4 games left in this 5-game ACST series, as is the standard for the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Veronica McAllister is looking at a 5-10 split after her first ball. Looking at a spare if she can get it. That's looking promising. That piece of wood doesn't quite connect with the 10 pin. It gets very close, but it doesn't hit it. Jonathan Hogan's similar story. He's got the 3 and the 9 pins directly behind one another. It's a full shot to take them all out. Veronica gets that 10 for 84 in 9, while Jonathan Hogan, meanwhile, is looking at 102 after 9. Here's where we stand in the scores after roughly 1 game. 1 game, not the 5th game. I'll have to correct that shortly. Jonathan Hogan's season average 103.7. Veronica is 13 and 57 for the season. Her season average is 88.9. Veronica, first ball, the final box. Drops 7. Very favorable mix. Jonathan Hogan, meanwhile, drops 6. The 1, the 2, the 4, and the 8 pin. Veronica takes out all but the 1 pin, the head pin, an awkward split. Jonathan Hogan creates a dance of eternity of wooden pins, but can't quite get anything other than just leaving the 2 and the 8 pin on the deck. Meanwhile, Veronica will take the 10 box, putting her at 94 and 10. She will take the first game against Bryan Hebert, and Jonathan Hogan also takes a 10. He will also take the first game against RMcAllister. So our home bowlers are the ones that are taking the points for the first game here. Jonathan Hogan against RMcAllister. 112 for Hogan versus McAllister's 95. And then Veronica McAllister has 94 against Bryan Hebert's 82 here at the Atlanta Can Open Singles Tour. Turns out we're in the first game and not the fifth game. That was me with not paying attention to where I was in time and space with the scrolling. RMcAllister drops what appears to be 3. Bryan Hebert's going to drop 7, possibly 8, possibly 9. Look at that strike for Bryan Hebert. Backdoor strike. Backdoor strike for Bryan Hebert. RMcAllister trying to answer. These are synthetic lanes at Academy lanes, so sometimes this stuff happens. And pins will slide around a little bit more. This is sort of like a millithird of the building in some ways, one might say. RMcAllister is going to take an 8 after 1. We are in the second game. In case you missed it, Ray had a 95 in the first game versus Jonathan Hogan's 112. Meanwhile, Bryan Hebert had an 82 in the first game, but he opens with a strike. RMcAllister's opening ball, again missing the pocket to the left. Bryan Hebert for a second strike, and it's a double strike for Bryan Hebert. This is Class D North, folks. This is some fine bowling we're seeing this afternoon. Bryan Hebert, after an opening game that seemed kind of sleepy, is waking up now with a double strike in the second game. Sitting at an open 30 after 2, plus plenty more to go, as we're waiting for RMcAllister just to clean up what appears to be 3 remaining on the deck, leaving only the 5 pin. That's a 9 box for RMcAllister. Ray and Bryan are not bowling head-to-head. They're bowling their respective partners, who are keeping score right behind them. And now, RMcAllister opening up on lane 38. Bryan Hebert working on a triple strike, potentially. He's not going to get triple, but he's going to drop 6. So he's going to fill that first one with 6. The second one also with 6. Strike fills are always really fun to keep track of. I will validate my score with what's up on CompuScore as soon as they're done to make sure I'm entering it correctly. Bryan's going to take nothing else for that second fill. It appears like it's going to be possibly 42 after 2 for Bryan, after all that's been shaken out here. Six box for Bryan after a double strike. Ray, meanwhile, got an 8 box for 26. 48 after 3 for Bryan. Hey, I got it right. 48 after 3 for Bryan, while Ray takes an 8 box in his third for 26. RMcAllister on lane 38. Academy Lanes, Haverhill, Massachusetts, in the green room, the synthetic lanes room, lanes 37 to 44. We are on lanes 37 and 38 today. Both bowlers contending with either a split or most of the deck remaining. In the case of RMcAllister, Ray is going to drop nearly everything except for the 1 and the 2 pins. Bryan Hebert is going to miss his object pin, but the ball will bounce around the back walls and whatever else is back there, leaving the 1 and the 3 pin. RMcAllister now leaving all but the object pin. Bryan Hebert misses his target for an 8 box. So Ray is going to conclude the fourth with a 9 for 34 and 4 for RMcAllister, while Bryan Hebert will take an 8 for 56 and 4. 56 and 4 for Bryan Hebert versus 34 and 4 for RMcAllister. RMcAllister now lane 38. Bryan Hebert seems to be curving a little bit to the right or the left. In that case, it was curving to the right. He's got the 4 horsemen left side plus the 10 pin, the 1, the 3. No, the 1, the 2, the 4, the 7, and the 10. Ray drops all but the 1, the 6, and the 10. Bryan Hebert with a very pretty spare. He's going to be sitting on yet another mark in the 5th, putting him at an open 66 after 5 with an impressive opening second game for Bryan Hebert, while RMcAllister is going to conclude his half with a 9, 43 after 5. As our away bowlers will now sit and the home bowlers will now take the approaches here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Plenty of bowling here to go, folks. As Jonathan Hogan will be leading off on lane 38. Jonathan Hogan's opening ball is a pocket shot, full shot, spread eagle plus the 7 pin, and also leaving the 9 pin on the deck. Veronica McAllister drops all but the 4 horsemen right side, the 1, the 3, the 6, and the 10. Meanwhile, Jonathan Hogan is going to sail right through that middle pocket of pins that he already hit in the first ball. Can't score that twice, so fortunately he's gonna be in remedial mode for this third ball. Hopefully he's gonna get something better than what appears to be a 4. And it's gonna be a little more than that. It's gonna be a 6 box for Jonathan Hogan. Veronica, meanwhile, is going to take a 10 box. 10 box for Veronica in her opening ball of the second game here. Gosh darn it, I did it again. Bear with me one moment while I just fix the score once again. Double hitter scoring is fun. Fun with a capital F. Jonathan Hogan drops 6. Veronica drops 8. Jonathan Hogan just missing that spare. Again, bear with me while I just fix the score. It's going to be just jutting around for just a few more seconds here while I just correct that. Veronica will take a spare after a 9-pin drop. Jonathan Hogan will take a 10 box. Here's where we stand after uneven points in the game. Jonathan Hogan's at 16 after 2, where Ray is at 17 after 2. Meanwhile, Bryan's at 42 after 2, where Veronica's at an open 20 after 2. Jonathan Hogan's first ball, he overthrows it a little bit. That was a hard and fast ball. One of the fastest I think I've seen today from Jonathan Hogan. V connects with the pocket, and she's going to fill her spare with 6. For a 26 after 2 against Bryan Hebert's 42. But Jonathan Hogan's going to take that spare home with him. Overthrows the first ball, but it's a very well-aimed second ball. Veronica working on a 10 box now. Veronica on lane 37 at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Hoping to take a 10 box, and she's going to take that 10 box. Veronica is at 36 after 3 after a 10 box. Veronica's also doing a pretty good job trying to keep the pin count high against Bryan Hebert's run of marks. Jonathan Hogan, meanwhile, lane 38, connects with a pocket, takes all but the 10-pin. Nearly a hammer, a 9-pin hammer. V also hitting the pocket, and a mirror image hammer minus the 7-pin. 9-pin hammer for both. 9-pin hammer for both bowlers. Hogan now. Difficult shot to make for a lot of bowlers. This 10-pin, he misses that single-pin spare. But he did fill that spare with 9. His previous spare with 9, that is. Veronica probably is going to have a higher likelihood of getting that spare, and she gets it. That's going to be 46 and 4 open for Jonathan Hogan. Meanwhile, Jonathan Hogan will connect with that single-pin spare for a 3-ball spare. 10 and 4, 45 for Jonathan Hogan after 4. Veronica has an open 46 after 4. Things are just getting heated up here, folks. We are getting going here in this Class D North doubleheader. Jonathan Hogan now. Look at that strike by Jonathan Hogan. That was a hammer right there. That was what he was looking for in the previous ball. Veronica fills her spare with 7. I don't know if we're going to get that to play. There's the... There we go. There was Jonathan Hogan's strike. V, meanwhile, is working on a 10 box, and she's going to get that 10 box. So she filled that spare with 7 and will sit on an open 60. No, not an open 63. A close 63 after 5 against Bryan Hebert's open 66. This is exciting bowling here, folks. Jonathan took a strike, as we know, for an open 55. Our bowlers are catching fire here. Second game, and we're seeing a lot more marks in the first game. So stay tuned for more fantastic bowling here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. This Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class D North match. So Bryan Hebert appears to fill that spare with 1. Again, just like in the previous game. Something about the second half yips or something. It sucks when you have to stand up on a mark and sometimes you forget you're even filling it. Look at that spare by RMcAllister, though. That was a slow-moving, methodical spare. In the 6th for open 53 and 6 for RMcAllister. Bryan Hebert will pin it out, though, for 10. Putting him at 77 after 6. Hebert will take a strike. That's his third strike of the game. Bryan Hebert, Ray McAllister hits the pocket, leaving the 5 and the 9 pins for a fill of 8 on his spare. Ray McAllister looking to get a double spare here. That curve is not going to kick in, it seems. These bowlers are not head-to-head, but they seem to be bowling as if they are. Ray McAllister is going to take a 3-ball spare 10 box, putting him at 71 and 7 versus Jonathan Hogan, who hasn't bowled in the 7th yet, but he was sitting at the half at 55. Meanwhile, Bryan Hebert is bowling against Veronica McAllister. He's on a strike right now. That X is a strike. As Bryan Hebert now works to fill that strike with not another double, as he had earlier, but he will fill it with his first ball of that strike with a 6. But he gets 2 balls, so more to come as Ray McAllister drops 9 his first ball. And it's going to be a 6-fill total for Bryan Hebert as he misses, only connects with wood. Ray McAllister, meanwhile, misses that single pin spare. He was trying to avoid that piece of wood that was out in front, but he compensated a little bit too much for that. Bryan is going to take a 7 box, while Ray McAllister will take a 9 box. Ray McAllister sits at 80 and 8, while Bryan Hebert sits at 107. Sorry, that's 81 for Ray. Where did he get 1 extra pin? But meanwhile, Bryan Hebert. That's why he had a 9 box earlier in the match. I will just correct that. Anyways, haven't missed any marks. Sorry about that. Look at that. Ray McAllister cleans up for another spare, putting him at 91 in 9, and Bryan Hebert is going to conclude with a 10 box. That puts him at 110. Open 91. Bryan Hebert's opening ball of the final box is a 4 drop. Ray is going to take nearly, that should have really, could still be a strike. Let's look at that. Look at that slow motion strike by Ray McAllister. So he fills his spare with 10. Gets a strike, and Bryan, he just misses that 1 remaining pen for a spare. Ray McAllister sits at open 111 after 10, while Bryan Hebert looks like he's going to be at 119 or 120. It's going to be in 119 for Bryan Hebert after 2. So recap of Bryan Hebert versus Ray McAllister. Ray McAllister has yet to bowl her second half, 67 versus 63 after 5, but Bryan Hebert was able to march on to a 119 after 10. Meanwhile, Ray McAllister is just filling his strike. He gets 2 balls out of this. Looks like that's... Oh no, it seems Ray didn't realize that he was filling a strike. So that's going to be, oh no, oh Ray. Someone should have told him before he pressed that button. So he's going to fill that strike with 4. I think he didn't realize that he was on a strike, so he's going to take a 115, which could have been much higher, but hey, you live and learn. So we have just concluded the second game for our away bowlers. Bryan threw 119, Ray McAllister threw 115. Now our home bowlers are taking the stage. We have Veronica McAllister on lane 38 on the right side here, while we have Jonathan Hogan on the left side, lane 37. Jonathan Hogan was at 55 in 5. He's on a strike as well, so his first ball of the strike fill is 4. Still has 1 more ball to go. Veronica still has 3 up on the deck after 2 balls. That's going to be a 9 fill for Mr. Hogan on lane 37, with only the 4 pin remaining. Veronica, I'm not sure if they're going to foul that or not. We'll see what happens. Jonathan Hogan's going to take a 9 box in the 6th for 73. Veronica, let's see what they score Veronica as. She's going to take a 9 box for 71. Sorry, and apparently it was a 10 box in the 5th, or a 9 box, not a 10 box in the 5th. Just syncing myself up with the scoreboard. Veronica's at 71 after 6. Her opening ball, pocket shot. Veronica tends to throw a little bit lighter, and that seems to be favoring her on these synthetic lanes. Previously, I saw her bowl at Lakeside, and she struggled a lot on the wood lanes. On the purely wood lanes, and the synthetic lanes seem to be doing her a lot more favors, especially today. Veronica misses the 5, 8, 9, 10 split there. Jonathan Hogan cuts through the middle and leaves the 7 and the 9 pins on the deck. V is at 71 after 6. Hogan is at 73 after 6. V will take an 8 box. Oh, Hogan will also take an 8 box. Making my life easier. So Jonathan Hogan sits at 81 after 7 against RMcAllister's 72 at the equivalent part in the game. V, meanwhile, is at 79 versus Bryan Hebert's 93, the same point in the game after the 7th. Veronica now opening on lane 38 in Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and that's an 8-drop pocket shot. Pins falling very favorably. Jonathan Hogan, another strike. Add that to his ledger. Open 91 and 8 for Jonathan Hogan. Veronica, meanwhile, very makeable spare opportunity. Ball looks like it's going to connect, and that's a spare for Veronica. Excellent job by both bowlers. See if we can get a replay up here as fast as we can. That's Jonathan's strike. RMcAllister now filling her spare with a disappointing 4. I feel like she deserved more than that. Meanwhile, Jonathan Hogan is going for strike fill, 5 down on the first ball. That's why you get 2, though. If he connects with that 1-3 pocket, he'll have another spare to add on to that strike to compound his fill quantity. V is almost going to get another spare, but that ball was very generous, and oh boy, Jonathan Hogan whiffs his second ball fill. That's going to be a 5 fill, putting him at 96 and 8. Veronica is at 93 and 8. She's going to take a 10 box. That's going to put her at 103. Veronica's high single for the season is 104, so this is definitely high single territory for Veronica McAllister. Jonathan Hogan will take a 5 box, putting him at 101, I believe. Yes, 101 after 9 for Jonathan Hogan, and 103 after 9 for Veronica McAllister. These bowlers are not head-to-head right now, but Veronica is technically ahead of Jonathan Hogan, who leads the D class. Veronica's been struggling all season in the D class, so this is definitely a success story for Veronica McAllister today. Veronica McAllister has officially surpassed her high single for the season. These lanes are definitely favorable for her. She's going to take another spare. Look at that. Veronica sits out and open 113. Converting the half Worcester to a spare. Jonathan Hogan trying the same thing in a mirror image version, but can't quite do it. Looking at a potential 111 for Hogan, but 110 or 109 as well. It's going to be 111. That's a 10 box for Jonathan Hogan. 111 after 10. That completes his second game. RMcAllister will take the second game, so both bowlers in this matchup have taken 1 game apiece. Veronica, meanwhile, is now going to be filling a spare. Open 113 after 10 for Veronica. It looks like she's going to take the second game. And it's going to be... It looks like a 4. 3 fill. I'm sorry. That happens. Sometimes you get the yips when you have a really good game and the final ball is a fill. But Veronica will take a 116. That's her high single of the season. She is very happy to see that. That was the face of success right there for Veronica. So she is at 116 versus Bryan Hebert's 119. She's not going to take the second game, actually, with that fill, unfortunately. I thought she was going to have it, but that 3 fill just gave Bryan enough ammo to complete taking 2 points in the second game. That's 119 versus Veronica's 116. So each bowler also takes a point apiece after 2 games here. Meanwhile, it's a very similar story for RMcAllister and Jonathan Hogan after 2. But we're going to move onward to the third game. RMcAllister on deck on lane 38. And Bryan Hebert on lane 37. Both of these bowlers are the away bowlers today at Haverhill, Mass. Academy Lanes. RMcAllister chopping wood. Bryan Hebert, that's looking, full shot, leaving all but the 3-pin. I thought that was going to go, but he threw the ball maybe a little bit too hard, and the ball sailed directly behind the pins, or through the pins, more specifically. Bryan Hebert's going to clean up for a 10 box. Cleaning up for a 10 box for Bryan Hebert in the third game. And RMcAllister, meanwhile, took a 7 box. Appreciate having you along here, watching either in person or online here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts for this Class D doubleheader of the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour on this sunny Saturday afternoon as Bryan Hebert takes a strike on lane 37. A lot of strikes happening today, especially for Bryan Hebert. This is a bit of a success story for him, especially considering yesterday him and I were bowling in the Lakeside Lanes Thanksgiving tournament, and he was really having a struggle, as was I. It was a difficult series of 5 games. The two of us bowled 136 and 135, and then it was downhill after that after a series of unfortunate events and pins that just weren't falling and all sorts of misfortunes for the two of us. But this is a mirror image, a polar opposite for Bryan Hebert today. RMcAllister connects with the pocket, but the pins dance around, leaving an awkward array of 5 pins on the right side. Bryan Hebert for a double strike. He's going to drop 7. Banana split minus the 10. So his first fill's a 7. One more ball to go for Bryan Hebert for the fill. RMcAllister nearly gets a spare, and Bryan Hebert is going to just whiff the wood and take a 0 fill for the second ball. 27 after 2 for Bryan Hebert. RMcAllister takes another 10 box, it looks like. Bryan Hebert takes a 7 box. 34 after 3 for Bryan Hebert. And 27 after 3 for RMcAllister. If you're just joining us and you're confused, don't worry, I am too. But maybe a little less confused. These bowlers are not bowling head-to-head. Their partners are at the score table scoring for them. This is a doubleheader, though. So tons of bowling going on, and that means my own score system is getting tested in terms of displaying things coherently as fast as possible and entering scores as fast as possible, as RMcAllister doesn't quite get the spare. Leaves all but 3. Bryan punches out the 7-pin, leaving the diamond side left on lane 37. Lane 38, meanwhile, RMcAllister is going to just kiss the 3-pin for an 8 box. Diamond wins again for Bryan Hebert Jr., leaving the 5 and the 8-pin for an 8 box for Bryan Hebert and an 8 box for RMcAllister. McAllister, lane 38. Mr. McAllister is going to leave the diamond side left minus the 8-pin. Makeable shot if he just connects with the pocket left or right side of that. Bryan Hebert drops 3, meanwhile, on lane 37. RMcAllister trying a slow ball pocket shot. I believe in him, except he's got to hit pins to start with. He whiffs it to the right. Bryan Hebert's going to take a spare, though. Another spare to sit on an open 52 and 5. RMcAllister's going to take a 9 box. In 5 to sit on 44 after 5. As we now transition to our home bowlers. So here's RMcAllister, 44 after 5. 3-game total so far of 254 with 5 boxes to go. Bryan Hebert, meanwhile, 3-game total of 253 with 5 boxes to go, plus a fill, open 52 for Bryan Hebert. Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. We're going to switch now to our home bowlers here. Jonathan Hogan, 59 and 25 for the season, has an average variance of roughly 7, ranging from 97 to 104 across his games as of November 20th. He leads D-Class North Division 4 ahead of Bill Olson, Bryan Hebert, and Kevin Martell as of 11-20. His high single is 136. His high series is 551. Hogan visibly frustrated after overthrowing that a little bit. Doesn't connect with all the pins he needs to connect with, while V is trying to just get anything more than 3 here. She's going to get more than 3. That's going to be 3 remaining now. It's a game of 3s. Jonathan Hogan, wow, that was a interesting dance of pins, leaving only the 7 box. He's going to take a 9. For Mr. Hogan, his opening ball of the 3rd, and V will take an 8 for her respective opening box of the 3rd game. Our home bowlers just completing their first half of the 3rd game here. We are at roughly the halfway point of this D North class doubleheader. Jonathan Hogan leads off on lane 38. That's a strike. I almost thought it was not going to be a strike. I thought that 5-pin was just going to get slid back and tilted. I have seen pins and candle pin tilt 45 degrees and then stand back up, so I'm never sure until I see them completely down. That's a strike for Jonathan Hogan. Veronica McAllister, meanwhile, 4 down, 6 up. She almost connects with the pocket, which would have likely been a spare shot, but she leaves only the 1 and the 9 pins now. A full shot will take these out. Unless she hits the 1 pin in such a way it will bounce off a wall. Veronica McAllister will connect with the 9 pin, leaving the 1 pin for a 9 box in the second, putting her at 17 after 2. Jonathan Hogan now working on a strike. He has 13 strikes, 63 spares, and 52 tens for the season. His first ball is going to be a 5 fill. He drops 4. Hogan now will take 2 more for the road. 7 fill total. 26 after 2 for Jonathan Hogan. Veronica McAllister. Lane 37, more pins wobbling. The 7, 9, and 10 with wood. Jonathan Hogan will take a 7 box. Veronica McAllister now is going to take a 9 box. She hit it exactly where I thought one really needs to hit it to try to take a 10, but sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. So Veronica's at 26 after 3. Jonathan Hogan, meanwhile, is at 33 after 3. Comparatively, RMcAllister had 27 after 3 at the same point in the match. Jonathan Hogan's first ball on lane 38 is leaving everything but the 4 horsemen right side, the 1, 3, 6, 10. Veronica McAllister, meanwhile, 26 after 3 versus Bryan Hebert's 34 after 3. V leaves a very similar shot to Jonathan Hogan, but also has the 5 and the 8 pin to deal with. Jonathan Hogan attempts to clear out the 4 horsemen, but 1 remains alive, the 10 pin. VMcAllister takes 1 more pin out. Jonathan Hogan is going to take that 10 box he was looking for 43 and 4 for Jonathan Hogan. Veronica will take a 10 box as well. 36 after 4 for Veronica McAllister against Bryan Hebert's 42 and 4 in the same part in the game. Meanwhile, Jonathan Hogan has 43 and 4 versus RMcAllister's 35 and 4. Jonathan Hogan leading off on lane 38. Drop the ball. Misfire there for Jonathan Hogan, taking out just the right 2 pins on the rightmost side of the edge. V drops 4 pins. Jonathan Hogan on his spare attempts, trying to get some redemption there, and he punches out an awkward quarter Worcester plus the 5 pin. Wow, that is the 1, 3, 7, 8, and the 4 pin, I believe. Wow, it's still a lot of pins to deal with. He's trying for a 10 box now, Jonathan Hogan on lane 38 in Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. He's going to take an 8. He's going to sit on 51 and 5. Game lead by 7 for Jonathan Hogan at this point. Veronica, meanwhile, has 7, putting her at 43. 43 versus Bryan Hebert's open 52. And then 51 for Jonathan Hogan against RMcAllister's 44. Bryan Hebert, meanwhile. That was a fill, and that's another disappointing fill for Bryan. Wow. That's a 3 fill for Bryan Hebert. 55 after 5, and he doesn't quite get another attempt at it, trying to get another spare. Bryan Hebert sitting at the 1 and the 3, leaving only the head pin. He's going to take a 9 box in the 6th, 64. After 6, RMcAllister is going to take an 8 box as he verbally calls over. 52 and 6 for RMcAllister. Bryan Hebert has a 64 after 6. Hebert now, lane 38, pocket shot, 8 drop. Would have been nice if it was a 9 drop, but not quite. RMcAllister is going to take a half Worcester left side plus a few more. Dropping 4. Hebert dropped 8. Look at that spare by Bryan Hebert. That was a nice spare. Maybe we'll get it up on the replay if we get things fast enough here. RMcAllister still struggling on lane 37 to try to get anything going here. 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 for RMcAllister on lane 37 here. That's going to look like an 8. 60 after 7 for Ray. Bryan's at an open 74 after 7. Bryan Hebert working on a spare in the 7th. Open 74 plus a lot more 8 drop, 82 and 7 for Bryan Hebert Jr. Lane 38. RMcAllister punches out the left side half Worcester plus the 5 pin. Bryan Hebert waiting for some wood to settle. As per standard ICBA candlepin rules regulation, you have to wait for all wood to settle before you can take your next shot. And it also helps to just take a moment to pause and think about what your shot's going to be. This can be a deceptive shot. And he's going to get it, though. That's going to be another spare, double spare for Bryan Hebert Jr. Open 92 and 8 now. After that 8 fill. RMcAllister. Wow, he's looking at possibly a 4 box. He needs to connect to that 1-3 pocket to get any hope of a 10 box here. RMcAllister looked like he dropped that ball. That's going to be a 5, I believe, for RMcAllister. 65 after 5 for Ray. Let's take a look at the scores real quick. So Ray's at 65 and 5. He's running ahead against Jonathan Hogan at the moment until Jonathan Hogan bowls. Bryan Hebert, meanwhile, is filling a second spare. Let's watch. Pocket shot. Oh, he got kind of robbed there. That's going to be... Oh, nope, they're still falling. Oh, wow. He got very lucky. Wow, a 9 fill. I thought that was going to be a 6 fill, but wow, he got a really lucky break there, Bryan Hebert. Never stop looking because sometimes you might get some extra. Bryan Hebert might be on his 3rd spare now. Come on. He gets it. That's a spare, triple spare for Bryan Hebert. Open 111 and 9. RMcAllister, meanwhile, is struggling to chop some wood on lane 37. He's got the 2, the 5, and the 8 pin with wood. He's trying to get something started here. RMcAllister having a struggle of a game. That's a 9 box, 74 in 9 for Ray. Ray really having a hard time. He's scored no marks so far this game. Sort of a tale of 2 people here. Bryan Hebert now filling his 3rd spare. Filling his 3rd spare with another pocket shot. Will he get a lucky break again? It's not too bad of a split if you hit it the right way, but he's got some work to do. That's going to be a 7 fill for Bryan Hebert. 118 after 9. RMcAllister punches out the 4 pin. Bryan was trying. I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to kiss that pocket, but he threw the ball a little bit too hard, and it didn't sail enough to the left to get the shot he was looking for. He made that gesture as if that was going to happen, but he's going to take a 9 box. That's a 127 for Bryan Hebert. His season high single is 122, so that's a new seasonal ACST high single for Bryan Hebert Jr. And RMcAllister took a 6 box. That's going to give him an 80. Rather disappointing game for Ray. Sometimes you have those, though. You know, I really can't throw any stones in the glass house I'm living in right now, considering the 2 games of similar value I had yesterday. So you know what? All my sympathies to RMcAllister. Anyways, we have Veronica McAllister and Jonathan Hogan now starting on lane 37 and 38. Let's switch back to them now. Switch the focus back to them. Ray drops 3. I mean, not Ray. Excuse me. Veronica drops 3. I'm still thinking of Ray. Jonathan Hogan drops an awkward 7, 9, 10, and 6 pin split. Both bowlers contending with some interesting splits right now. Jonathan Hogan is going to take a 7 box. And meanwhile, Veronica will take a 7 box as well. No, I'm sorry. What am I saying? Jonathan was like a 9 box, not a 7 box. I was one ball ahead of the bowlers. Don't worry, they can't hear me. Thank God they can't hear me. Anyways, Jonathan Hogan sits at 60 in 6, while Veronica sits at 50 in 6. Both bowlers have some work to do. Veronica more than John in this case. Veronica drops 5. Jonathan Hogan looks like he's going to drop 6. Neither ball was a fill. Veronica at 50 and 6. It'll be really nice if she can get some spares right about now. Connects with the head pin, but it just dances around and takes out the 7 pin. Jonathan Hogan, meanwhile, is going to take out 2 more to the ledger, leaving the 3 and the 5 pin. 2 and the 5 pin, excuse me. Veronica, meanwhile, leaves all but the 9 pin, taking a 9 box. Jonathan Hogan is going to take a 9 box as well. Make my job easier. So Veronica sits at 59 after 7. John sits at 69 after 7. We'll show the big scoreboard in just a little bit here when we have just a moment to breathe here in terms of switching screens and everything. V's opening balls are right side half Worcester on lane 38 at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Jonathan Hogan, meanwhile, connects with the pocket, and he gets another split. He's been hitting the pocket, but he's been hitting it in such a way that's been causing these awkward wide splits. Difficult spares. This reminds me of some of the shots I was getting yesterday at Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, New Hampshire. Very reminiscent of this. Jonathan Hogan now for the spare. Takes all but the 2 and the 10 pin. Just a game of chopping wood. V, meanwhile, misses the head pin, takes a 7 box, I believe, if I'm counting things correctly. She has a 66 after 8 confirmed, and Jonathan Hogan is going to take a 9 box for a 78 in 8. Let's pull up the big board here for the folks at home for slightly larger font. If anyone's having trouble viewing any of this, feel free to yell at me in the comments at any time. I don't mind. Veronica McAllister, lane 38. Drops all but 5. 4 horsemen left side plus the 8 pin. Jonathan Hogan drops all but the 4 horsemen right side minus the 6 pin. Veronica McAllister trying to make something out of this. Needs to connect with the 1-2 pocket and only connects with the 1. Full shot. 4 remaining on the deck. Jonathan Hogan almost gets a spare, but the ball doesn't sail quite correctly to hit the 10 pin. It seemed to want to get out of dodge a little bit faster than desired, as Veronica McAllister will take a 6 box by the looks of it. John Hogan will take a 9 box. I said a 9 box. There we go. John sits at 87 after 9. Veronica sits at 72 after 9. Veronica McAllister now on lane 38. Another 4 drop. Jonathan Hogan drops all but the 7 pin. At least he doesn't have a split this time. He has 7 plus wood. Sort of a serrated, layered, double buffered piece of wood before that 7 pin. Jonathan Hogan gets that spare. That spare he's been fishing for ever since the 2nd box of the game. Open 97 and 10 for Hogan. And Veronica is going to take 7, putting her at 79 versus Bryan Hebert's banner game of 127. So Bryan Hebert, needless to say, is going to add quite a bit to the match lead, and needless to say, will take the 3rd game. Now Jonathan Hogan filling his spare with. His final ball of the 3rd game is going to be a 5 fill for a 102. He's going to take the 3rd game. Not that there was any doubt of that, but he does take the 3rd game against RMcAllister, who scored 80 in 3. Jonathan Hogan, meanwhile, scored 102. That concludes our 3rd game. 3 game totals so far. Jonathan Hogan has 325, up by 35 in the match, and up in the 3rd game by 32 versus RMcAllister's 3 game total of 290. Meanwhile, after 3 games, Bryan Hebert has a 3 game total of 328 with a match lead of 39 and a game lead in the 3rd by 48. That's quite a bit to lead by in one particular game. But we move onward and upward to the 4th game now. Our away bowlers are going to be taking the stage. So we have RMcAllister on the right side, who took an awkward quarter Worcester plus the 9-pin. Completes the half Worcester now plus the 9-pin. Bryan Hebert trying to convert sort of a spread eagle, sort of not. Leaving the 3, 6, and 9 pins on the right side. RMcAllister is going to take a 9 box for his opening box. Bryan Hebert will take a 10 box for his opening box. Here we are, the start of the 4th game, the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class D North doubleheader on this Saturday afternoon. Day after Black Friday, the holiday stroll in Nashua is tonight. I don't even know what day it is, really, until I look at a calendar or someone reminds me. My phone seemingly thought it was Saturday yesterday because I was getting reminders seemingly going off on my phone for things that should have gone off Saturday, so even electronics are confused. RMcAllister has a really awkward 7, 9, 10 split. Not much you could do about that. Bryan Hebert, I don't even know what, I missed what pin he hit, but he apparently got some backdoor action, some wood flying around to get some extras. RMcAllister's going to take a really frustrating 7 box. Not much you can do with that one. Bryan Hebert's also going to take a 7 box with some really awkward pin action despite connecting with the object pin, the head pin. Welcome to Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. The green room, the synthetic lanes room. Home of the good Wi-Fi. And Pub 125, which is literally behind the wall to the left of Bryan Hebert on lane 37. Plenty of TVs, plenty of fun drinks and food and pool tables and all kinds of stuff. There's a jukebox over there and all kinds of fun things here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Academy Lanes has a healthily stocked pro shop featuring plenty of brands of bowling balls, bags, towels, shoes, and accessories. Recently, both Bryan Hebert and myself picked up new Dexter branded bowling shoes on a sale here, which was awesome considering how hard it can be to find bowling shoes these days. And let's not even get into ones that do or don't have slide pads based on your preferences, which shoe you slide on, and it's all just a big mess. Availability can be really scarce, and the way bowlers wear out bowling shoes, it's a whole thing. Bryan Hebert drops the everything but the 5 and the 10 with a wobbly 5. Bryan Hebert, meanwhile, has 4 horsemen left side, but the head pin just decided to jet out of here. Academy Lanes is sanctioned by the International Candlepin Bowling Association as well as affiliated with the Massachusetts Bowling Association as RMcAllister just misses the spare, and Bryan Hebert, though, does get his spare. RMcAllister is going to take a 10 box. That's 33 after 4 for Ray and an open 30 after 4 for Bryan Hebert. In this 4th game of the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class D North doubleheader, Bryan Hebert versus Veronica McAllister and RMcAllister versus Jonathan Hogan. RMcAllister on lane 38, connecting with the pocket. Bryan Hebert is going to take everything but. Stop wobbling pins. It's going to be a 6 fill for Bryan Hebert. That's a 6 fill, 36 after 4. He's going to get another spare. He gets it. That was a really nice controlled ball by Bryan Hebert, something he's been working on. He's going to sit on an open 46 half, looks like. RMcAllister really fishing for a spare, and things just aren't falling for him today, especially after the 3rd game where he just threw a no-mark 80. That's a 9 box for Ray. He's going to take a 42. Frustrating day for RMcAllister in particular. He had a good 2nd game, 115. Meanwhile, Bryan Hebert doing really good today with the marks against Veronica McAllister. But now we switch to Jonathan Hogan and Veronica McAllister. These bowlers are not bowling head-to-head against each other. They're bowling against their respective opponents today who are sitting at the score tables. They've elected not to bowl head-to-head today. Jonathan Hogan drops 1. In case of the first ball yips. The FB wise. Jonathan Hogan, wow, slides a few pins even. Looks like the 8, the 5, and the 10. Veronica McAllister, meanwhile, has the 4 horsemen left side plus the 10 pin. Jonathan Hogan sails through for field goal. Can't give him 3, but hey, 7's good, right? It's like a 7 box. Veronica is going to get an 8 box after taking 3 of the 4 of the 4 horsemen, leaving the 7-10 for an 8 box for Veronica McAllister. Here's Jonathan Hogan against Ray McAllister. It seems that Academy Lanes' website first came online around November 28th, 2001 with a classic "This page is under construction" banner, with the full site showing up in the web archives on the Wayback Machine as old as March 27th, 2002. When digging through old archived versions of Academy Lanes' website on archive.org's Wayback Machine, I found that they had Glow Bowling at least as far back as May of 2002. There's a plaque on the wall behind me that discusses a dedication at Academy Lanes going back as far back, I believe, as the 1970s, the late 1970s. So this house has been around for quite a while. I don't know if it's as old as Lido Lanes or Lakeside Lanes, but it's up there. My goodness, Veronica took a spare in the second. My apologies for not verbally calling that one. Jonathan took an 8 box, meanwhile. 9 box, excuse me. Sounds a little bit hard to read the compy score, just to validate mine versus theirs. Veronica on a spare now. That's a disappointing 2 fill for Veronica. I've seen this a lot today. It seems a lot of the bowlers get a little bit nervous on their fill ball, and they have some trouble following up. Jonathan Hogan punches through. Bit of an overthrow, bit of a hard throw. Veronica, meanwhile, takes another 1 out. Jonathan Hogan looking at a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. He's going to take a 6, a frustrating 6. Not quite a banana split, but same amount of pins as a banana split. V is going to take 2 more out for a 6 box. 26 after 3 for Veronica, compared to Bryan Hebert's 20 after 3 before his mark streak, and Jonathan Hogan's at 22 after 3 versus Ray McAllister's 23 after 3. Whew, a lot of numbers, a lot of things to keep track of. Jonathan Hogan punches out the right, what appears to be the right half of the deck. Takes out 5, leaves 5. Veronica, meanwhile, takes out 7, 7.5, a wiggly 7. I don't know what you call that, but it's 7. Jonathan Hogan misses wide right. You already got those, John. Veronica doesn't connect with the object pin, but takes the other 2 pins on the deck, leaving only the head pin, the 1 pin. The other day I learned that the king pin's actually the 5 pin in Candlepin. I was, in a previous broadcast, mistaking the head pin for also the king pin. Apparently that's not true. Jonathan will take a 6, while V will take a 9. Someday my fingers will learn that 7 does not equal 9. 35 after 4 for Veronica versus Bryan Hebert's 36 after 4. 28 after 4 for Jonathan Hogan versus Ray McAllister's 33 after 4. Jonathan Hogan doesn't connect with the head pin again. He's having some trouble with that now. Probably needs to firm up his approach a little bit and set the edge. 1, 3, 7, 8, 10 for Jonathan Hogan, taking out the 8. 1, 3, 7, 10 left for John Hogan. 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 for John Hogan, while V, meanwhile, doesn't connect with anything. Looks like the 5 and the 10 pin on the deck by the looks of it. Actually, that might be the head pin and the 10 pin. Just basing it off the amount of light on the pin. John Hogan has an 8 box. V is going to take also an 8 box. Both bowlers sitting on 8 boxes in the half. V remarks, "It wasn't meant to be." Veronica has 43 and 5 versus Bryan Hebert's open 46 and 5. Jonathan Hogan sitting at a closed 36 and 5 after Ray McAllister's closed 42 in 5. And now our way bowlers are back. Bryan Hebert on a fill. That's 6. It's greater than 5. It's not bad. Ray McAllister drops 5. Bryan Hebert takes all but the 7 pin. Ray McAllister now adds 1 more to his box total. 6 down so far. Bryan Hebert has 1 to go. Will he get the 10 box? He will get the 10 box. That's 10 for Bryan Hebert. 62 after 6 for Bryan Hebert. McAllister, meanwhile, is trying to get something better than a 6. He will. Is that going to be an 8? It's going to be a 9. It's going to be an 8. It's going to be an 8 for McAllister. That's a 50 in 6. For McAllister versus Jonathan Hogan. Somewhat close match here in the 4th for these two. Bryan Hebert sits at 62 and 6 versus 43 and 5 for Veronica. Hebert now doesn't hit the head pin, but takes out quite a bit. Takes out 6 in a cluster that can go with wood, and a 1-2 pocket will take it. McAllister, meanwhile, drops all but the 5 and the 6 pins. The goalpost, close goalpost with wood. If he caps that wood on the left side, I think it will take it. Bryan Hebert, he doesn't quite hit it in a way that was exactly super productive for taking out all the pins, but he does get 2 of the 4 out of the deal. And McAllister, I know what he was trying to do, but he didn't hit the piece of wood and didn't cap it exactly the way he was looking to get. He was looking to go for. Bryan Hebert will take a 9 box, leaving only the head pin, and McAllister will take a 10 box. McAllister's 10 box. Here's what we got for McAllister versus Jonathan Hogan. They are not bowling head-to-head. And then we have Bryan Hebert versus Veronica McAllister. Bryan Hebert now. Bryan Hebert wasting no time releasing that ball, and I think he paid for it there. Misses the head pin wide right. McAllister drops 7 in his first. Hebert trying to get some backdoor action. Kissing a 3-pin. Kicks over to the left, doesn't get a whole lot. McAllister hits a little bit too full on the 3-pin. Doesn't quite get the spare he was looking for. Hebert is looking at a potential 6 box here. McAllister takes an 8. That potential becomes a reality for that 6 for Bryan Hebert, and McAllister will take an 8 box. Here we go. McAllister is at 68 and 8. Hebert is at 77 after 8. Hebert again misfiring left this time instead of right, taking out the same 3 pins. McAllister doing almost the same thing. Mirror image shots of one another here. Hebert takes out all but the 5 pin on the 1-3 pocket. McAllister trying to do the same thing, takes the 1-3 pocket, but he gets everything. Look at that. McAllister, that's a spare for Ray in the 9th. That's open 78. Hebert will take a 10 meanwhile. That will put him at 87 and 10. 87 and 9, that is. Excuse me. Ninth box. 87 and 9 for Bryan Hebert, who's bowling first. He's the away bowler, bowling out of lakeside lanes. McAllister opens 78 and 9. McAllister is the away bowler, but he also bowls out of academy lanes, so it's only a formality. Bryan Hebert fills his spare with 5. Nope, sorry, he didn't have a spare. Ray has a spare. Ray fills his spare with 6. Bryan Hebert takes out all but the head pin on that spare attempt, something he definitely needed. This is a bit of a hangover game from that 3rd game of 127. McAllister, meanwhile, ooh, boy, that ball kind of took a sharp turn towards the end, taking out the 10 pin only. McAllister 3, 7, and 9. He's going to take the 3 and the 7 out, leaving only the 9 pin for a 9 box for McAllister, concluding his 4th game with what appears to be a 93, and it is a 93. Bryan Hebert will take a 96 after 10. So here's where we stand after 4 games in which in the 4th game here the away bowlers have completed the series of 10 boxes. The home bowlers now stepping up to the approaches, Jonathan Hogan and Veronica McAllister. Here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts, this is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, or the ACST. This is a season of candlepin bowling among bowlers sorted into classes and divisions calculated based on total bowlers as well as averages of the bowlers. Each matchup against 2 bowlers is a scratch match, which means there are no handicaps or other assistive point value modifiers other than what we see here in the live matches. There is a maximum of 14 available points per match. 2 points are awarded to the bowler of each game. The bowler whose cumulative total is the highest results in an additional 4 points awarded. A tie and a string will award each bowler 1 point. McAllister, I will stop saying that eventually. Veronica McAllister takes out all but the 9 pin. It was nearly a spare, and then she couldn't quite convert it on the 10 box attempt. Jonathan Hogan will take an 8. And Veronica will take a 9. The D class of the ACST has a north and a south half with 4 divisions between the two of them. Each class presently has roughly 32 bowlers with 16 in north and 16 in south. A little bit like NFL divisions. Jonathan Hogan, look at that strike. That was a definitive hammer. I was missing those. Hadn't seen those in a couple of games here. Veronica trying to make something out of a admittedly difficult split. Oops, sorry, didn't have the right scoreboard up there. Veronica trying to get something higher than a 6. She will get higher than a 6. She'll get a 7. That puts her at 59 and 7. And Jonathan Hogan's at an open 54. On a strike. Still about a game and some change left to go here at the Atlantic Hamilton Singles Tour here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. In the green room, the right room, the room with Pub 125, the room with the Wi-Fi, the room with the synthetic lanes. Jonathan Hogan's first ball and a strike is a, wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 3 for the first ball. Don't worry, that's why you get 2. Veronica connects with the 1-3 pocket, trying to convert a half Worcester. Oh boy, Jonathan Hogan's second fill ball is a 1. That's a 4 fill. That's 58. By the looks of it, I believe. 58 after 7 for Jonathan Hogan. A disappointing fill on that strike. That's an 8 box for Jonathan Hogan. That's going to put him at 66 after 8, taking the match lead back from RMcAllister. And Veronica McAllister, meanwhile, she took an 8 box for 67 and 8. Just quickly thumb through the scores here. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to display all this information in a doubleheader like this when they're not bowling head-to-head. V drops all but the 3, 6, and 10. Jonathan Hogan having trouble missing the head pin on the right side in these past couple balls here, especially in that strike fill. I don't know if it's lane 37 or the wall or what, but having some trouble. Didn't have any trouble with that strike before, though. V takes out the 10 pin for 2 remaining on the deck. John punches out right down the center. The CALLATT center. If any of you millennials remember that commercial. Jonathan Hogan now will take an 8 box. 8 box for Jonathan Hogan in the 9th. 74 in 9 for Jonathan Hogan. 75 and 8 for V. Mrs. McAllister. Here's where we start. Veronica McAllister on lane 38 at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. 4 horseman right side minus the 6 pin on the opening ball. John Hogan does connect with the head pin, but he's left with an awkward 3-6-7 split. Veronica misses the spare. Still left with a 1-3-10. Jonathan Hogan connects with the 3 pin and it dances around everything else, leaving nothing but the 6 and the 7. V now leaves all but the head pin. Takes all but the head pin, that is. Jonathan Hogan is going to take an 8 box. That's going to conclude his game with 82 in the 4th versus RMcAllister's 93. RMcAllister will take game 4. Meanwhile, Veronica has an 84 after that 9 box. And Bryan Hebert will take the 4th game. Here's where we stand after 4 games. Bryan Hebert took the 2nd and 3rd games, as well as the 4th game. And while Veronica took the 1st game. Meanwhile, in the 4th game here, we have RMcAllister, who took games 2 and 4. So both bowlers taking an even split of games here so far for RMcAllister versus Jonathan Hogan. It's been definitely hot and cold moments here in this doubleheader. Lots of marks for sure. If you're watching this match for marks, you should not be disappointed right about now, especially earlier in the game. If you're just tuning in now, be sure to check this out from the beginning and watch onward. We've had some impressive marks today. But we're going to be starting the 5th game here. Just have a little brief lull while Bryan and Ray get set. The away bowlers. Starting out in the 5th game here, the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class D North doubleheader. The D class of the ACST is a North and a South half with 4 divisions. D class is 32 bowlers, 16 in North, 16 in South. Right now, it looks like bowlers in the D class are averaging anywhere between 88 to 103. So it's an impressive split. Not split, range of averages. Jonathan Hogan is at the top of the pack right now in the D class. All comes down to consistency, though. Candlepin bowling is definitely a game in which consistency can be difficult for anybody who's playing this game. Bryan will take an 8, while Ray will take a 7. Speaking of Candlepin bowling is a sport in which a bowler rolls a ball down a lane in an attempt to knock down up to 10 pins in a frame, also known as a box in the Candlepin lingo. Depending on how soon those 10 pins are knocked down, the amount of points awarded to the total score become more valuable and offer more chances to compound and provide higher returns. For example, knocking down 9 pins in the first ball and then the 10th pin in the second ball is known as a mark, or a spare, and results in what's known as a spare, in which the first ball of the next frame... Ooh, is Bryan going to get that? Nope, he's not going to. Almost a spare, speaking of spares. In which the first ball of the next frame effectively awards double. That's known as a fill. Previously seen in this match even. Bryan's going to take a 10, Ray's going to take a 9. Again, these bowlers are not bowling head-to-head today, so the scoreboard is a little bit chaotic as I just flipped through 2 pages where Bryan is actually challenging Veronica McAllister today, while Ray McAllister is challenging Jonathan Hogan. Jonathan Hogan is the leader of the D class in terms of averages, points, and everything else. We have some superlatives today for sure, though. Veronica bowled her high game of the season with 116 in the second game. Bryan Hebert also bowled his high game of the season, 127 in the third game. So if you're watching this match for superlatives, this is definitely one of them. Ray McAllister trying to go for that head pin, struggling to find that head pin. Bryan Hebert, field goal. Can't give him 3, but how about 5? There's a consolation prize for you, Bryan. 5 points for you. No, 6, sorry. Right? Nope, it is 5. Nope, the score correction they are making on their side. Try my best to keep in sync with them, whether it's correct or not. I just go with what the bowlers go with. Ray McAllister sits at 25 after 3. Bryan Hebert sitting at 23 after 3. These bowlers are not bowling against each other. They're bowling against Jonathan Hogan and Veronica McAllister, respectively. Ray McAllister, 4-horseman right side, plus the 7 pin. Needs to connect with a 1-3 pocket to take everything, but he hits the 3-6 pocket instead, leaving all but the head pin. Bryan Hebert misfires there, leaving the 1 and the 8 pins on the deck. Ray McAllister misses the head pin, takes a 9 box. Bryan Hebert will take a 9 box as well. So after 4, Bryan Hebert sits at 32, while Ray McAllister sits at 34. Let's bring up the big board here for you folks at home. 5th game, final game, somewhat of a pivotal match. The game lead is within striking distance between Ray McAllister and Jonathan Hogan. It's a bit more of a runaway between Bryan Hebert and Veronica McAllister. Bryan Hebert is a little bit further away with a match lead of 83. I would say 83 minus 32. So a little bit more work for Veronica. Veronica's going to need to have a really good 5th game to take that all-important 4 points for the total. Oh boy, Ray McAllister has been punching out. Bryan takes an 8. Ray remarks, it's like a job right now. Ray took a, what, a 4 box? Wow, 4 box. That's a 38 after 5. Disappointing. Bit of a disappointing fatigued half for Ray McAllister. He says it's a workout. So Jonathan Hogan hasn't bowled yet. Ray McAllister is at 38 after 5. Bryan Hebert sits at 40 after 5. Neither bowler's bowled really anything in terms of marks so far. It's Veronica McAllister and Jonathan Hogan will now be starting up the first half of the final game here at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class D North doubleheader. Saturday afternoon doubleheader at Academy Lanes, the green room, the synthetic room in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Veronica McAllister's opening ball, a very generous 6 drop. Hogan has 5 to contend with. Takes out one more. Both bowlers have 4 pins remaining on the deck. Veronica connects with the 1 pin, but only takes 2 of the 4 pins out. I thought that had a chance for a spare, but not quite. Jonathan Hogan, the wood dances around and prevents the 10 box, so he's going to take a 9. Veronica, meanwhile, is going to also take a 9. Yes, that is going to be a 9 box for Veronica McAllister. As we start out this 5th game here. Still plenty of bowling to go, folks. Nobody's bowled any marks so far in this 5th game. First bowler to bowl a mark is probably going to pull ahead for the game, at least. Veronica takes out the 10 pin for 1. Jonathan Hogan drops all but 3 pins for 7 drop. Jonathan Hogan, that was almost going to be a nice pocket shot for a spare on the 3-6, but he takes out the 6 and not the 3, leaving the 7 pin standing alone in the corner. V takes out 2 more pins, right side half Worcester plus the 10 pin. Jonathan Hogan's going to take a 9 box. Veronica, meanwhile. Sorry, had the wrong scoreboard up. Again, my apologies for not putting up the scores in the timely fashion. Since the bowlers are not bowling head-to-head, this makes things a little bit challenging and creative in terms of showing the right scoreboard at the right time. It's one big Excel sheet, and when you pull back the curtain, but it just makes things interesting trying to display it on the stream. As Jonathan Hogan misfires and misses to the left, dropping what appears to be 3. Veronica McAllister, she misses the head pin to the right. Again, not to repeat myself too much, but that seems to be a bit of a common theme lately. Sorry, I just watched a child just belly flop onto a seat to the right of me here. Bit of a common theme, missing the head pin to the right side for Veronica today. One of those things where I think if she just maybe starts her approach just slightly to the right, she'll start connecting with the head pin. She did bowl a not 115. She bowled a 120. What am I saying? 116. Let's look at the right values, point values here. She bowled a 116 in her second for her seasonal high single. Veronica takes a 10 box. Jonathan takes a 9 box. Jonathan Hogan on lane 38 at Lakeside Lanes in Haverhill. Not Lakeside Lanes, Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Look at that strike by Jonathan Hogan. There's a strike we were missing. First mark of the 5th game for any bowler so far. Definitely help out Jonathan Hogan's open 37 after 4. Veronica McAllister, meanwhile, 4 horsemen left side plus the 9 pin. That's looking good. Maybe that piece of wood will curl around, and nope. Sometimes with synthetic decks and lanes, you can get a little bit extra action and slide. But it also depends on how recently the decks were wiped down or greased up. Veronica will take a 10 box in the 4th for 38 and 4, pulling ahead against Bryan Hebert's 32 in the 4th. Here in the final game of the Atlantic Camplin Singles Tour Class D North doubleheader. Jonathan Hogan now, filling a strike. That's going to be a 6, drops 6 on his first ball. Dropping 6 on his first ball. Veronica, again, missing the head pin to the right. Bears repeating. Just needs to really, if she physically maybe just takes a step to the left, she can probably correct that issue, but let's see what happens there. That's going to actually miss to the left this time, so hey, maybe I'm wrong there. I think she made a bit of a wrist-hand correction there. Jonathan Hogan, he took 2 more for the road, filling that strike with 8, and he's going to take an 8 box total, sitting on 53 after 5 for Jonathan Hogan. Veronica, meanwhile, is going to take a 5 box. She is going to sit on 43 and 5. And we are at halftime of the 5th game now. Do some analysis. Veronica is up in the 5th game by 3, but Bryan Hebert has the match by 48, so Veronica really needs to go on a hot mark streak here, and Bryan really has to lay an egg in the second half for any hope of the total going over 2. Veronica. Meanwhile, RMcAllister versus Jonathan Hogan. Jonathan Hogan is up in the game by 15 at this point, at an even half of the fifth game. Match lead of 39 for Jonathan Hogan, though. A little bit closer than Veronica versus Bryan, but definitely have some work to do. The away bowlers are now up. We have RMcAllister on your left and Bryan Hebert on your right. Bryan just scored a 7 while Ray scored a 10. In candlepin bowling, strikes are scored when all pins are knocked down to the first ball. The same rule applies as spared, but in candlepin, the first 2 balls count towards the fill value. And in candlepin, you get a 3rd ball if you don't knock them all down after 2. Bryan Hebert with a banana split minus the 7. Now he's got the goalpost to deal with, the 4 and the 6 pin. Very far apart, very difficult shot to make. Bryan Hebert, you can't get it that way. That's going to be an 8 box for Bryan Hebert. That's a foul. Ray, meanwhile, will take a 9 box. Compared to 10-pin bowling, candlepin allows for up to 3 balls thrown in a frame, as opposed to the maximum of 2 in 10-pin. In candlepin, knocking down all 10 pins in the 3rd ball results in a 10 box. Think of it as like a spare with a 0 fill. According to the International Candlepin Bowling Association rules and regulations based on candlepin.org, 2 consecutive strikes scores as follows. In the frame in which the first strike is made, score 20 plus the number downed by the first ball rolled in the second following frame. Then, in the frame in which the second strike is made, score 10 plus the number downed by the first 2 balls in the next following frame. RMcAllister takes an 8 box, while Bryan takes a 7. Bryan sits at 62 after 8. Ray sits at 65 after 8. Bryan Hebert, lane 38. Bouncy first ball. Although I think that might have saved a half Worcester or a spread eagle there. Drops 6. Bit of an ugly split there. But that was a nice spare by Bryan. He's having a bit of a frustrating game, though. That was his first mark of the game. Every bowler struggling to find some marks except for John and Bryan so far. Ray in particular. It's been painful watching him miss some of these marks. Ray will take a 9 box. 74-9 for RMcAllister. Bryan Hebert, meanwhile, has an open 72 in 9 on a fill. Bryan Hebert hopefully just slows that down. That was a nice, slow, methodical release. That's looking better than a 3 fill or a 4 fill. That's going to be a 6 fill for Bryan Hebert. 6 fill Bryan Hebert. 78 after 9 now. That ball, I don't know what that ball was, but sails right through the middle, doesn't connect with anything. No spare for Bryan. Ray's still chopping wood over there. 4 horseman right side, minus the 3 pin. Bryan Hebert, 7 box for Bryan. That's going to conclude his 5th game at an 85. RMcAllister is going to conclude his 5th game similarly with an 81 after a 7 box. Here's where we stand. The away bowlers have completed their 5 games today. RMcAllister, 5 game total, 464. 5th game is 81. It remains to be seen if he'll take the game and or the match. We'll see. Bryan Hebert, meanwhile, concludes with a 5 game total of 509. This 5th game being an 85. Up in the game by 42 and an uneven point. Match lead of 93. Veronica is going to definitely have some work to do here. Veronica McAllister on lane 38 and Jonathan Hogan on lane 37 at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Jonathan Hogan nearly another strike. Really, really impressive ball by Jonathan Hogan. He's just getting screwed in terms of the 7 and the 10 pin. RMcAllister, oh my God, start a tally. Veronica McAllister drops everything but the 10 pin. And by 10 pin, I mean 1 pin. Jonathan Hogan on the spare. He gets it. Hits it just full enough to go straight forward. Ball even comes back on him. A lot of finesse on that. Veronica will take a 10 box. Veronica has 53 after 6, and John has an open 63 after 6. Veronica has an opportunity to make up some ground. If she gets a couple marks, she might be able to sneak up on Bryan's match lead total, and she's in good standing for taking the game in general. Jonathan Hogan fills with 4. Low fill seems to be a bit of a theme of the day, although we've had a decent amount of marks, but albeit a little bit earlier in the match here today. John kisses around everything but the 5 and the 9 pin, excuse me. Veronica McAllister has 4 pins up on the deck. Taking out the 4 pin and nothing else. Jonathan Hogan leaves the 5 pin at the altar for a 9 box. Veronica takes a 7 box. Veronica's at 60-7 versus Bryan Hebert's 55-7. Jonathan Hogan is 76-7 versus RMcAllister's 57-7. Veronica McAllister connects with the pocket. 7, 8, 10, and 6. Jonathan Hogan hits a full shot, a little bit too hard. Spread eagle minus the 2 pin. 3, 6, 10, 4, and 7, I believe. Veronica McAllister gets a spare. Look at that. That was a nice kick on that piece of wood, which is able to take out the back row and then some. Open 70-8 for Veronica McAllister now. Game lead is only roughly 15 after Bryan Hebert's 10. By the 8th box, Veronica is ahead of Bryan. Jonathan Hogan takes an 8 box. 84-8 for Jonathan Hogan versus RMcAllister's 65-8. Veronica 70-7 open at 8 versus 62-8 after 8 for Bryan Hebert. Veronica McAllister on a fill. Oh boy, she deserved a little bit more than that. Half Worcester plus the 5 pin. 3 fill for Veronica, putting her at 73 after 8. Jonathan Hogan drops, oh boy, 6. Veronica almost gets the spare, takes out everything but the 7 pin. That was impressive. Jonathan Hogan walking the wood, walking the ball, walking the dog. But none of them take out that 10 pin for Jonathan Hogan. Both of these balls really should have been spares by my watch, but hey, welcome to Candlepin Bowling. 9 box for V, 10 box for John. John's at 94-9. V is at 82-9. 1 box to go in the 5th game, final game of the Atlantic Camp of the Singles Tour Class D North doubleheader. Veronica McAllister on lane 38, opening ball. 7, 8, 8 drop for Veronica. Jonathan Hogan also connects with the pocket. Both bowlers connect with the pocket, and Jonathan Hogan gets less of a break than Veronica did. 3, 6, 7, and 10. No. 2, 4, 7, and 10, excuse me. Oh no. Veronica doesn't connect with the object pin or the object wood. Connects with a 10 pin instead, and Jonathan Hogan, similarly in a mirror image, takes the 7 pin out only. Veronica now looking to take out the 3 for a 10 for a potential 92. She's going to get that 10 box for Veronica. That's going to be a 92, taking the game by 7. Jonathan Hogan will take an 8 box. Continuing his game lead by 21, concluding the game lead by 21, solidifying his match lead over RMcAllister by 45 for a 5-game total of 509 versus RMcAllister's 464, so he will take the total. And let's have a quick look at the totals here. Jonathan Hogan will take 10 points for the day, taking game 1, 3, and 5, and the match, while RMcAllister took game 2 and game 4 for 4 points total. Meanwhile, if we take a look over at Bryan Hebert versus Veronica McAllister, we have a slightly different story. Veronica took the 5th game by 7. Bryan held on to the match lead by 44. Bryan had a 5-game total of 509 versus Veronica McAllister's 5-game total of 465. And Bryan took 10 points on the day versus Veronica's 4. Bryan took game 2, 3, 4 in the match, while Veronica took game 1 and 5. And then if we just take a quick look back at RMcAllister and Jonathan Hogan, we had 112 versus 95, 111 versus 115, starting out hot. And then we dropped down to 102 versus 80, and then dropping to 93 versus 82. So we got a little bit shorter in terms of the totals here as we went along, and then 102 to 81. But regardless, this has been a fantastic game. 10-4 split for both bowlers in this doubleheader match today, and that should just about do it for us here at Academy Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts. It's been a pleasure. Whew, so what a match, huh? What did you think of that? Let me know in the comments, and if you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and maybe subscribe to this channel and ring that bell if you want to see more. I hope you enjoyed this match at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, this restored and rescored version. And I've been Steve Kelly, and I hope to see you at the next Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour match. Have a great one, everybody.